Antoine Watteau has always been seen as the most important French painter of the early 18th century. He died at the age of 37, very young, and his short career spent the time of the last years of Louis XIV and of the Regency. Some of the paintings that one can see at the Wallace collection are very small in size, and this is quite typical for Watteau's work. The 18th century was very fond of showing paintings densely, close together, and also in pairs. Where there was a pair, there was something to compare as well. In order to do that, sometimes the sizes of paintings were changed and paintings were extended. And this is a case we actually have here at the Wallace collection, and we have recently had a fresh look at this painting in order to understand better what has happened to it and also to see whether we could improve the display. If one has a closer look at this painting, one can quite easily see that it was extended at some point. There are clear lines on all four sides, which means that at some point in its life, the painting used to be considerably smaller. From the front, this is harder to see, but if one turns the painting around, it becomes very obvious. Because here one can see the extension at the bottom and the extension at the top. The extensions on either side are covered by larger pieces of wood. In this case, we are in the fortunate position that we know almost exactly when this must have happened, because the print that was produced after the painting was announced in a newspaper in 1719, at a time when Watteau was still alive. And from the style of the painting, we can assume that Watteau painted it about 2 or 3 years earlier. And because we can date the extension exactly, it seemed interesting enough for us to change the frame in a way that the painting would be visible with its extensions to our visitors today.
When I started the process of restoring it, the brief was really to return the frame back to more of its original size, to a larger profile, so we could actually display all of the original parts of the panel again. It had been heavily altered in the 1980s to reduce the size of it, so it was a bit of a jigsaw to actually pick through all of these different elements and work out where it had been cut down and where I go about enlarging it. I reopened several of the old joins that they'd cut down previously, most prominently two in the centre of the frame at the top and bottom rails. And then it's a case of adding new sections of timber in this case the frame was an oak substrate, so we used some matching oak. Some parts of the original ornamentation, small bits of delicate carving, we were able to actually salvage those and replace them. It's a traditional process of finishing the surface that we use for all our giltwood objects. A mixture of chalk and rabbit skin glue. It's painted onto the surface, and it's just a case of carving into that again to try and refine the profile, integrate it to the existing surface. The gold leaf that we lay on top as the final surface finish is so thin, it's ever so slightly transparent, so whatever colour you apply underneath a layer of gold adds a tonality to the original frame, so we try and match that to what we've got. So in conservation we talk about a 6 foot and a 6 inch rule. The principle is that from 6 inches you can look at the restored piece and you can probably tell that parts of it aren't original, that they've been altered in some way. But from 6 foot away, all the new repairs should be integrated into the object, and it shouldn't distract from the viewing of the painting in this case.